morning, and welcome to another edition of The Collective. My name is Michelle Turner, and I have the good fortune of being your host. It is with great pleasure that I bring in something or the music of, I won't say something, I'll say the music of, and the artist who created the music this morning. I have Waterbury's own Lamone.
What's up, Michelle? What's up, everybody at the Collective? What's going on?
Good morning.
Good
How are
morning. Good
you?
morning. I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm sitting here sipping on my coffee, waiting on my $1,400 stimulus to come in my account. That's what I'm doing. But
Like
I'm
the
good.
majority of us, right?
Yo, it ain't
We're
hit yet.
always like,
I'm like,
we're
Bonnie,
always.
what's going on? I need gas and groceries. Come on.
Well, did you get your little, email that said it's going to be here at X date?
No, I ain't get that either. See what I'm saying? I ain't on the list. Me and Bonnie
Ah,
got to have a talk.
yeah, you got to talk to Mr. Biden and the
Yeah,
IRS.
because I want to be in that number. When them say,
Fully, fully understood. Fully understood.
okay.
So, my first question to you is, besides how you doing, is music, has
Mm-hmm.
it always been a part of your life? Are you one of those people that hear it constantly in your mind?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, ever since I was a kid, my father, one of my fondest memories, my father would always take me in the car and drive to Cutler's record shop in New Haven to buy
Wow.
all the latest albums and 12 inches back in the day. They used to come out and he would bring those albums home and put them on a cassette tape so he could play them in his Cadillac. And, I'm riding with my dad in his cars, listening to all this music just pumping my head. And I was like a sponge, just absorbing it all, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Because for me, that experience was my uncle had a barbershop on the south end of Bridgeport,
Mm.
and there was a record store that was run by a blind man named Spoon.
He was
And
blind. Wow.
was blind, and he had this huge record store. And my mother would listen to Eddie OJ on the predecessor of WBLS, who the OJs
Wow.
are named after.
Yeah.
And so he would do a top 10 countdown. And every Friday we would go to Spoons
That's what's
and we
up.
get those records. So I can
Listen.
I can relate to that experience, the excitement of it.
Now I wonder, him being blind, could he find the album you was looking for?
Not only could he find it, he knew when you were coming in the store, he knew how many people were in the store.
What?
And he did have somebody to
Kind of
ring
help him
stuff
out.
up,
Okay.
but he would stand by the cash register.
That's right, because you ain't getting his money.
Right. He would stand by the cash register and hear where keys were
Yeah.
being hit,
That's
you
where he
know?
probably had a little something back there too. You try it if you want to.
Yeah. And everybody respected him. And it was funny
Nice.
because I was talking to a colleague who liked music, but I never thought in a million years. He was like, "Yeah, girl, Spoons." I was like, "What? You
I've
went to
heard of that.
Spoons?"
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. But with that, with
Mhm.
you growing up with music around you, when did you know that that was something you wanted to do?
Oh, I mean, it's always something I wanted to do. I was like one of those young, insecure closet singers. You know what I'm saying? It was like back when it wasn't cool for dudes to sing. You didn't
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
you didn't really want the
yeah.
girls or anybody to know that you liked to sing because it wasn't the cool thing to do. But it wasn't until after I got out of high school, I became like way more independent, and I kind of hooked up with a local musician here in Waterbury called Carnegie Clapp. May he rest in peace. He was an awesome musician, and I just approached him one day. I just got the guts in me and said, I like to join one of your shows. And he was like, "Well, can you sing?" I was like, "Well, I think I can," but he was like, "Well, meet me down at this club at such and such time," and I did that, and so I guess he wanted to get a feel of where I was, if I could
Mhm.
sing, if I could stay on key, And he pretty much helped me out a lot back in the day, and that's pretty much where I got my first training from, where I first started singing out publicly, and I got up the courage to actually sing in front of a crowd. I mean, I was terrified, but once I got a good reaction, I was like, okay, I think I can do this.
So, no formal music training.
Formal music training, no. Let me tell you, I mean, all the albums that I listened to back in the day, the old school soulsters, like at the top of my list, one of my favorites is Donny Hathaway,
Mm,
yeah, Marvin Gaye, all the old school crooners, Luther, definitely Luther, the Al Greens, even a lot of female artists I would listen to. I would listen to Aretha, Shaka, Patty, all the greats, and I would study what they did vocally, and I would try to mimic what they did vocally.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So I kind of credit them as being my vocal teachers, and even like a lot of local singers, local artists here in Waterbury, like to me, Maya, just a whole bunch of singers that I would watch over the years and see what they do, and I would just try to mimic them, and that was like my voice training. you know?
yeah. So, when did you discover like range and whether you were an alto or a soprano or
Yo, I never knew what. I mean, it didn't come until later that I figured out. Okay, Lamone, you're actually a tenor, but the falsetto always came from mimicking the female artists and other male singers like the Philip Baileys,
mm,
the Al Green. Every time they were going to their higher register, I would try to mimic that. But like, oh, okay, well, that's what falsetto is. But naturally, I am a tenor. But for years, I had no idea what my range was. I mean, even to this day, like musicians will ask me, "Well, what key are you singing this in?" I'm like, "Yo, I have no idea. Just start playing, and we'll figure this out." Just start playing. And then they
and
usually
we'll,
tell me, you're in the key of E or E flat, or.
that's funny. But now, in doing that,
Mm-hmm.
have you found that you are someone who can automatically listen because you trained yourself that way, so you can automatically listen to a song and pick it up, or does it take you a couple of times? And do you read music?
I don't read music, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to work on right now. It's so funny because I've always wanted to learn. I really, if I could turn back the hands of time, I would have went to like a Berkeley School of Music or New England Conservatory of Music.
It's never too late.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely, it is never too
It's never
late.
too
But
late.
but it's funny because I was told by a musician by the name of Ron Lawrence. He's out of New Haven.
Yeah,
Great
I know,
guitar.
Ron.
Ron is one of the greatest guitar players I've
Yeah,
ever heard. And he
yeah,
told me one day, he was like, "You don't even need to learn anymore." He was like, "Because you already know music. Like you're a singer. You're actually a musician, but you're just a vocalist, but you are a
yeah.
musician." And I never looked at it like that. I'm like, wow, okay, but I still want to learn because I want to know the theory of music. You know what I
Uh
mean?
huh.
And I would like to know how to write music itself. Like I can vocalize it, but as
Yeah.
as far as putting it on paper, like writing out those notes, I'm not able to do that yet.
So, but your voice is an instrument. It
Right.
serves as an instrument.
Absolutely. I had to learn
Because
that.
yeah, and I think anytime you hear a vocalist, you appreciate that, be it how they hit a note or scatting
Yeah.
or imitating what the musician is doing, like I've heard people kind of scat along with the guitarist, you
Absolutely.
know so
Absolutely.
it's a being a vocalist is different in the respect that you got to take care of your voice, right?
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, and B, you know, you really have to think in terms of what am I trying to get across to the audience,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because that's important. Have you ever been, and I've never asked anybody this before,
What's up?
but I know when people speak,
Mm-hmm.
they sort of get in a zone.
Mm-hmm.
But have you ever been on the flip side of that? Like you go out and you know how you want it to sound, but it
Right.
doesn't turn out that way?
Oh, all the time. I mean, I'm probably my worst critic. I can't stand hearing myself in playback a lot of times,
Mm,
especially in videos, because I always hear the mistakes. I hear all the errors that everybody else doesn't hear. and I just hear all the mistakes. So yeah, being on the flip side is it's like fingernails in the chalkboard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. But you've done 3 albums.
yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
it
Make it
can't
make
be
sense,
too
right?
much self-criticism
Yeah.
because
Well,
you've done 3 albums.
I have, but
And people love your music.
I, I'm I, I'm very thankful and grateful that they do. You know what I mean? Because I know it can be the opposite. And I'm kind of I'm pretty much careful as to what I put out there and what demographic and what audience I'm targeting. But yeah, I'm just glad they like it because it could be worse. I could be a part of cancel culture. So
I don't think that is what is happening.
I
I
hope
think
not.
I think people are very receptive, and I
Yeah,
think you do get a lot of support from folks in Connecticut wherever you go.
I do.
You
I
know,
do.
because I've known people to say, "Oh, well, Lamone is opening," and I was like, and it's like, okay, well, if he's opening, there's going to be a decent show.
Wow, and
I've
that's
heard that.
really
Yes.
it's that's so amazing to hear that because I've always, the times I have opened for people, like I've opened for Jill Scott, I've opened for Charlie Wilson, a couple of others. I've always felt like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? Like,
What
am I good?
is that like? Because that's my next question.
It's a
You
lot of
know,
stress and pressure because you're the opening act, and I'm sure you've been to many concerts. Most people ain't there for the opening act. They don't even care. They're still walking in the theater while
right?
you're
Finding their
singing, finding
seats.
their seat while you're performing. So it's like, you got to get up there, do your thing. You got to kind of demand the respect from the crowd because they ain't checking for you.
Right,
So they're
right,
there for
right.
the actual, the headliner. So it's like your introduction. Like, listen, people, I'm Lamone. This is who I am. I'm warming you up for the main attraction, but in the meantime, I got something to say. you know, it was very nerve wracking opening up for Jill because at the time Jill was, I mean, she's still awesome and great, but she was like kind of at the peak. You know, when
Yeah,
she came here to
yeah,
Connecticut, it's like whoa.
yeah, yeah. So, what's that process like? Walk me through that. Like, how do you, as a local artist, get chosen to open for somebody like a Jill Scott?
Good question. When I got the call, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was Juan Castillo who called me about
Mm-hmm.
that. I think a lot of times it has to do with your style and the type of genre of music you do. They
Okay.
try to fit that with the artist, with the headliner. All I know is when I got the call that they wanted me to open for Jill, I felt flattered. I was honored, and I was like, Lamone, what are you gonna do? But at the same time, kind of had my hands tied. Like I wasn't allowed to have a band, which is what I'm used to
Wow.
having. I'm used to having my guys behind me so I could feed off of them. I could look to my right or my left and see Ron or J Ro or Trevor in the back
Right,
or whoever.
right.
I didn't have that. So they were like, no, you just like if you want, you could bring a DJ. So I was like, oh, okay. But
Ooh.
so I just went old school with it. I went hip hop. I'm like, okay, well, if rappers can do it with just a rapper and a DJ, then why can't I? So I called up my man Jay Lane. It's like, Jay, all they giving me is a DJ, so it's gonna be me and you. So we just gonna hit it with
Wow.
it. Yeah. So
And how long did you have?
I think I only had. I'm trying to think. When I opened for Jill, I believe maybe only 20 minutes, if that. 20 minutes to a
So,
half an hour.
so how do you choose? How do you choose what you're going to do in that 20 minutes? Because, like you said,
Yeah,
it's sort of like you're the warm up. So you got to
exactly.
get the crowd ready. You got to
You
get them in
do.
the mood,
Right.
and you got to get them to pay attention to you because for every person, and no offense, but you'll know what I mean, for
Yeah,
every person that's heard of you, there's maybe two others that haven't.
that have not. Let me tell
So
you what
you've
I
got
did.
to draw folks in,
You got
right?
to draw them in. Exactly. So what I did was I told the sound crew, I said, listen, I'm not working with much. I don't have a band. It's just me and my DJ. But I'm gonna need a cordless mic. So I have my cordless mic, and I came up off that stage and I pretty much got in people's faces. It's like, you're gonna look at me when I'm saying it. You ain't gonna treat me like I'm just nobody. And I'm walking through the crowd and I'm in the aisle and I see people coming to their seats and I stop them right there in the aisle. I'm like, yeah, I know you late, but guess what? I'm here too. You're gonna respect me. So that's what I did, and as far as picking the songs, I like to ask certain people, mainly the females, like, which songs of mine do you like? Which songs do you want to hear?
Mm-hmm.
And I pay attention to the feedback. You're like, Lamone, I want to hear this. I want to hear On the Rocks. I want to hear High Off You or whatever. So I just like, oh, okay. So I just kind of go down the list and do a medley and stay within the time frame that they gave me, because you don't want to go over.
Right, right. And you definitely don't want to be under, right?
You don't want to be under either. But that it's so funny because one show I forget. I don't know if it was Jill or Charlie, but I kind of went under slightly.
What, slightly, like 5 minutes?
Maybe 2 or 3 minutes,
Okay.
if
All
that.
right. Which is not bad.
It was. I didn't think so, but they were like, "Yeah, you went kind of under." I'm like, "Oh, I was really trying not to go over, because I didn't want nobody pulling my sound out
Right.
or cutting the
Right.
light out of me.
Right.
I really
But,
wanted to make sure Lamone stayed within the time frame,
and then you don't want anybody dancing across the stage like at the Apollo.
Man, come on. If Sandman would have came out there, me and him would have had a battle. We would have did a kid and play kick step or something. I would have turned it into a show. Yeah.
But so in those performances,
Mm-hmm.
who do you channel?
Ooh.
Or is it just straight Lamone?
It's pretty much straight me. I mean, I'm always channeling every singer that I've listened to and mimicked over the years. I'm always channeling them in certain songs. You can hear it. People always come to me and tell me, "It's in this song. You sound like you were channeling Marvin." I'm like, I probably was. Or in this song, you went into a little Al Green. I'm like, yeah, probably. It comes out in everything I
Mm-hmm.
do because they're all influences. But at the end of the day, I do like to give people Lamone. I am giving you me, but it's just a whole lot of other artists and influences that are packed in
That
there.
come out, right?
They just come out.
Yeah. So songs are like children, right?
Yeah.
Somebody asks you if you got a
Yeah.
favorite, you try to give a little bit of props to every single thing, because you really don't want to
Right.
insult your work, so to speak.
Exactly.
But you got some favorites?
I don't like to call favorites because I do like them. I do try to treat them all the same, but
Mm-hmm.
I do have a certain connection to "I Found Me Somebody," and that song actually started off as a gospel song.
Wow.
I started writing it as a gospel song, but I couldn't really, find the words, and it just kind of segued into a love song. I said, well, this song can be taken either way. If people listen to the song, you may think I'm talking about God. You may also think I'm talking about a female. And I would say that one because it kind of hits home. It's very soulful, and it allows me to really stretch vocally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of soul R&B that I really like. I kind of cater to.
A little gospel tinged.
Yeah. It allows you to sing, allows you to stretch, and just be you.
One of the excuse me, one of the most interesting shows that I've been to was Anthony Hamilton.
Ooh, yeah.
And it turned into church in the middle of it.
What? Yeah, we was at the same show.
We probably were at Oakdale, right?
I
Where'd
saw
you see
him
him?
at Foxwoods years ago,
Okay, I
and he
saw
had
him. I saw him at Oakdale.
at Oakdale. I think I missed that show. The one I went to, he had Angie Stone open up for him, and I think she probably regretted it. But yeah, it was the same experience. He went off,
Yeah.
and I was taking notes. I was taking notes. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So yeah,
And you
you
talk
can.
about everything, right?
Yes.
Channeling, R&B,
Yeah.
gospel tinged. I mean, at one point they were shouting. I mean, it was
Listen.
just I was like
Yeah.
amazed. And not so much because of where it was happening,
Right.
but the simple fact that he had no shame in showing his influence.
Nah.
He
Yeah.
had no
Absolutely.
shame in showing his influence and what that meant to him.
Right.
And it was just, and of course, there were people in the crowd who
Right.
definitely responded. You know,
Absolutely. He made that connection to his
he
audience.
made that connection for people.
I think people
Is
want
that,
that.
yeah, but is that difficult as an artist
It
to
can
try
be.
to do?
It can be. Sometimes your audience could be very stuck up and stubborn. They don't even want to respond sometimes when you're trying to connect with them. It's like I'm trying to, trying to kick it to you. And
Yeah,
it doesn't always work out the way it's planned, but sometimes you just gotta humble yourself and just swallow your pride and your ego and just look people right in their face and just talk to them and speak to them.
yeah. Yeah, I think what I get from most artists is that you're kind of receptive already
Right.
because you're there to see whoever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're already open.
Right.
But I think sometimes people miss that.
Yeah.
Even if they're the main artist, they kind of miss that for whatever reason. Have they been on the road too long? Are they not feeling well? Did something happen before they go on stage? And sometimes it's
Yes.
it's just not there,
Right. I think
you
it's a
know?
little of all the above. You get into this routine, you have your set that you've been practicing so much that it just becomes monotonous. And I think a lot of artists sometimes we do want to go left. We just want to go with the flow. Doesn't always work. But yeah, and also it depends on the stage. Sometimes you're on that stage, you can't even see the audience. Those lights are
Yeah,
so bright
yeah,
up there, and you can barely see the first couple of rows. You
yep,
know, depending on the theater that you're in. And when that happens, it's like, okay, let me just do the set that we practiced, and hopefully people will connect. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Do you need certain things? Like, are you about having the rug and, something that makes it a little bit more uh cabaret-ish? Or are you like, okay, it's just me and the band and we're gonna bring it?
right now it's just if I do a show, when I do a show, it's just me and the band. I just say a little prayer before I go on. And I just try to be me, and I just try to hope that I'm able to connect with you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't really need any. I would like to have some water in my dressing room to keep the throat a little moist, and maybe some water on stage, because a lot of
Yeah,
times when you're singing, our throat can
yeah,
get very dry with the lights and the smoke, the fog. That's
yeah,
sometimes they put on you. They have a
yeah.
fan or whatever. But I'm not a rug person. Although certain shoes I wear can be a little slippery. I almost had a slip one,
Really?
yeah, a couple of years back at a festival. It was actually raining and the stage was wet, but we
Ooh.
worked that out because I just took the shoes off and went barefooted. But I don't really require too much. I haven't become a Devo.
Yet,
As of yet, yeah. I
as of
think I'm a
yet.
little too old for that. I mean, maybe if I was younger, it might have affected me. But right now, nah. You know,
Not that, huh?
nah.
Not that. Well, listen, we got a break.
Okay,
We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the new song.
okay.
And Doc is giving me producer credit this show. So I'm going to try to play the song to take us into the break.
All
All
righty.
right.
All
So
right.
bear with me.
Gotcha.
All right, y'all. This is The Collective. Right. And we're back on the collective. Me trying to run the controls and do things. My name is Michelle Turner, and I have the good fortune of having Lamone with me today. And I appreciate his time and energy so, so much. So thank you. Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
being here.
Appreciate
Let's
you as
talk
well. Thank you.
about Born to Be a King.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So, well, let me just
Mm-hmm.
back up and say you did a remake of one of my very favorite songs.
What's
You
that?
need to change your mind. But we're
Ooh,
going
okay.
that's one of my very favorite songs. This
Well, I
song
hope I did
holds a
it
lot for
justice.
me.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
But let's talk about Born to Be
Born
a
to be
King.
a king. Yeah.
So, what motivated you to bring this to light?
Ooh, I mean, look at where we're at in the state of the world. Born to be a king was just basically me as a black man. I wanted to dedicate a song to us. And I wanted to come from the perspective of a black man. Dealing with the current climate of how we feel in this state of affairs that we're living in right now. I mean, you look at the past couple of years and look at the things that have been happening out there in the streets. It's almost like there's a target on our back. You know what I mean? And I just don't understand it. You look at all the different deaths, unnecessary deaths and
Mm-hmm.
murders that have
Mm-hmm.
happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about Ahmaud Arbery, Philando Castro, Rashad, George
Yeah.
Floyd, Trayvon, Eric Garner. I
Yeah.
mean, just the list goes on.
Tamir Rice.
Tamir
And our
Rice,
own Malik Jones.
Malik Jones, Breonna Taylor. I mean, the list goes on and on, and it just makes you wonder. It's like, yo, what's really like? Are y'all really that scared of us? Like, do we put fear in your hearts? I don't understand. Let's have this conversation. Let's talk. But I really wanted to just remind brothers, like, listen, put
Yeah.
that crown back on, adjust your crown. You are a king, period. You know what I'm saying? And just act accordingly. And remind yourself every day that you wake up that you are royalty. And that's probably why the target is on our back, because this melanin that we have is worth more than gold. Trust and
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you didn't do too bad with the album cover, bruh. You definitely gonna get some attention. Just saying, you know.
Oh well, you gotta hit. It's so funny because we live in this era of everything is image. You know,
That's a little bit more than image.
well, I'm wearing a suit, Michelle. Listen, I felt like yo, I need a picture that's powerful, that makes a statement, that
Yeah,
catches
you you
the
you
eye and the
definitely are making a
attention. So
statement. Definitely
I
making
felt
a
like
statement.
if the woman can do it, why can't the men do it? Come on
Yeah,
now.
that's true. That's true. And we are living in that world now,
It's
right?
everything. It's like it's all about the image. It's crazy. And I felt as though, okay, now if I capture you with the picture, hopefully you'll listen to the song and the message.
Yeah, because that's what it's really about.
That's what
But
it's really about.
I think your female fans are going to appreciate the
I
cover.
hope so. I hope so.
I think so. I think you're gonna
Yeah.
get a lot of word of mouth from the
That's
cover.
what's. Hey, listen, I welcome it all. I love everybody, and I know my demographic. I know my audience, so I try to cater to them.
So, Born to Be a King
Mhm.
is an up tempo R&B type song.
Right.
And in this day and age, no longer do artists have to worry about it being their music being categorized, right?
I
Because
hope not,
when
but
I
yeah.
when I was a disc jockey, you know,
Hmm.
you had definite categories of music.
Yeah.
And now we've moved away from that. The artists have taken control, and you have taken control of your music.
Yeah. Well, I'm what you consider an independent artist, unsigned. I'm not signed to a label. All the funding is coming out of my pocket. You know,
Yeah,
I'm working a part-time job just to fund everything that I do musically. So it's really weird because I feel like R&B music, soul R&B in particular, is really being whitewashed it's being watered down a lot. And it's still out there, but they're
But look
trying.
at K-pop. I mean,
Exactly.
I was like,
Exactly.
my mother and I always have this conversation because my mother is a lover, a
Hmm.
real true lover, and that's probably where I got it from. A
Right.
real true lover of R&B music.
Same
And
here.
so, listen, you name it, I've heard it in my house.
Right. Right.
There's I can't remember, but it always used to make me laugh because on Fridays people used to gather at my parents' house.
I believe it.
So they had all the music, right?
I believe it.
And there
Yeah.
was a song, and they used to crack up. And so I was teasing my mother and a friend of hers recently because they had forgotten about the song. But
Okay.
the song was called "What Can You Do When You Ain't Got Nobody."
Why does that sound familiar? What?
If I can remember the artist, I will let you know at another
Yeah,
time.
please let me know because
But
that
it was
sounds
a
pretty
deep
familiar.
R&B song,
Yeah.
and it was Arthur Conley. And
Yeah.
then you had of course Sam and Dave and
Wow. Right.
all these
Right.
people. So
Yeah.
we always have a conversation about music. There's not a time that
Hmm.
passes that does not. And her point is always to me, I know that they're trying to tell you all that this is R&B music,
Yeah.
but it's really not R&B music. It's more of a beat or a sound
Hmm.
as opposed to it being a vocalist. And a vocalist is what makes R&B music.
Are you referring to today's
Well,
so-called
she's
R&B?
comparing, yeah, she's comparing that music
Right.
that I am familiar with, those
And myself,
blues
right.
R&Bs, yeah,
Yeah.
the Sam and Daves, the
Yeah.
Arthur Conleys,
Yeah.
the Isleys,
A lot
you
of
know,
soul and gospel infused in that music.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
And,
nowadays, I don't know what they're doing. It's I don't even know what genre. It's almost like they erased the whole genre of soul R&B, and they're trying to turn it into something else. And I ain't really for that. Give
well,
us back.
the young lady, and I don't want to name names per
Hmm.
se,
Okay.
but there's a young woman who's up for a lot of Grammys out of
Hmm.
London, very catchy music,
Right.
lot of sound.
Right.
Um, but it's it's R&B, but it's not R&B.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
I definitely know what you mean.
It's got all the parameters.
Right.
It's got the beat. It's got a bass line. It's got a sound. And her voice is not bad,
Right.
but it's more manufactured to me than it is organic.
Well, what they like the old saying says, they want our rhythm, but they don't want them blues.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And that's where
And that's
you
where it is.
you lose a lot of it. When you take away the blues, that rhythm is missing something, you know.
Yeah. 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 And I think that's what I hear. My poor daughter, that kid, I mean, she's somebody who has grown up because of the way that I grew up,
Right.
with a lot of different sound and a lot of different music always.
Uh-huh.
And we always have this discussion. So I always laugh because I say, well, who are you listening to this week? And she'll tell me, I'm listening to Harry Styles.
Right, right.
And I'm like, okay, he's not bad,
Yeah.
you know. And I said, but, did you find that Parliament Funkadelic song that I told you to listen to online?
Right.
You know. And so we go
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah.
And she appreciates R&B
Nice.
because of how I had the music in the house.
Yeah.
But a lot of kids don't have that.
No,
They
they don't.
don't know what it is. And a friend of mine, we were talking about the last probably great era of R&B was the 90s.
90s. I knew you were gonna say it.
The
Yeah, absolutely.
90s.
Yeah. The
And
90s.
even those people didn't necessarily have strong voices,
Some of them
but
did,
some
but a
of
lot
them
of them
did.
didn't. Yeah.
Well, listen, I love Big Bub of today.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
brother had a voice.
I had the pleasure of singing
Cisco.
with him one time. He came to Waterbury at a club.
Really?
Yeah, it was years ago, and me and him, I don't even know what we were singing, but we were going back and forth, and it was all love. That was a good experience meeting him. He's a very humble guy too. So
Yeah,
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 love his voice.
yeah. I
Very
love his
distinctive.
voice.
Very distinctive.
Yes, I love Big Bub. I loved Drew Hill.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Cisco's just,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He barks. He sings. He sings down. They
yeah,
remind me a lot of Jodeci.
yes,
Yeah. It was.
yes. Well, somebody said recently that Rashawn Patterson is the child of
Ooh,
Stokely and Raphael
absolutely.
Sadiq.
Two, three of my favorites you just mentioned: Rashawn, Stokely, Raphael. All three of them
Oh,
brothers. I would love to work with them. All three
listen,
of them.
I recently ordered music from him, and I said, "When are you coming to Connecticut?
Yo, seriously, like we
When are you
are
coming to
part
Connecticut?"
of the 50 states, y'all. I mean, I know we pretty small, but come on, don't just wipe with
Yeah,
us.
you gotta come
Y'all can
see
stop
us.
by. Yeah.
Yeah, come see us.
We got some venues and casinos y'all can come to.
All right. Yeah. So when you knock
Mm.
the big artist out of spots, what does that mean to you? What does that tell you? Like you knocked suit and tie out of the box
Yeah, that
at
was
one
wild.
point,
Yo,
and
that was
then
wild.
and and then nightlife came along
Yeah,
and
it was an
you
honor.
know,
Listen, when I got that phone call from Juan Castell, he was like, bro, he's like, you just knocked Justin Timberlake out the box. I was like, what? I said, what you talking about? He's like, you're number one right now. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, you just knocked out Suit and Tie. And the Suit and Tie was rocking. That I ain't gonna
yeah,
front.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was my jam at the time. I'm like, Suit and Tie, yeah, I was bumping it. But then when Rearview Mirror came in and said, hold up, wait a minute, get on out the way. Yeah, it was all love. So that was definitely an honor. So I was definitely grateful and thankful for that my home state, home radio station gave me that love, and the people of Connecticut really rallied in and showed me love. It was like, yeah, let's give it up to this brother. So yeah, that was definitely a highlight of my career.
What made you choose, girl, you need to change your mind?
To be honest, it wasn't entirely my decision.
Ha!
It was not entirely my decision. Now I am a fan of Eddie Kendricks.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my teachers.
Yeah,
Old
yeah,
school soulful singer. It was
yeah.
actually Josh Milan who was like, Lamone. He was like, you got this soulful,
And who is
sexy.
Josh?
Josh Milan is a very prominent, well-known producer out of Jersey, I believe. He now resides in Pennsylvania, but he's known for house music, but he's just an all-around great producer. But he has a huge house following. So when he hit me up, was like, Lamone, I think you need to do a remake of an old Eddie Kendricks song, Girl, You Need to Change Your Mind. Now, I've always loved that song, when he did it, and I even loved it when D'Angelo did it. So it was kind
Yeah,
of when Josh told me he wanted me to remake, I'm like, Josh, I don't know. I said, D'Angelo just like knocked it out. And then you talking about Eddie Kendricks, that was one of the lead singers of Temptations. There's some big shoes to fill
yeah,
here. So
yeah,
how we
yeah.
gonna flip this? So he was like, well, we're gonna do an old club version, clubhouse version. So I was like, oh, okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, when I heard the track, I said, oh yeah. I was like, I think we can freak this. And so that's how that happened. It wasn't entirely my decision, but I'm glad I obliged to do it.
Well, yeah, because I can definitely understand your trepidation,
Yeah, yeah.
and
It
that's
was
why, it's things like Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" that you don't hear people trying to attempt. And if
certain.
they do it like there's five people singing it,
You're
right?
right, right. You got to be careful with certain remakes. Everything don't need a remake, first of all, and when you do, you got to kind of put your own stamp on it. Hopefully, you don't downgrade it or mess it up.
Right. Right.
Because those songs hold a special place in people's hearts.
Right.
Like you said, girl, you need to change your mind. That's one of your jams. So I hope I did it justice. you
You
know.
did. It sounds good. I like it. I like it.
Thank you.
And I think the thing with that is for a lot of people that was disco music.
Yes. Yeah. It was big in the disco era.
It was big in the disco era. It was a club song.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, if you get the right DJ
Right.
to mix it down,
Yeah.
it's a
They
monster.
have you on that floor twirling and spinning. You
Yes,
forget
it's a
where you at.
monster.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So you're right. I think there are certain songs, that every artist and should respect. But I also think if you have the capability to do it,
Yeah.
do it. If you
Right.
have the right people in the room, because that's important too, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's like following through on a goal or a
Right.
mission.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
that there's a certain sound that you want this to capture, or you want it to. Not only is there a message in the music,
Right.
but it's sort of it, I would think I've never done this, but I
Mm-hmm.
would think you're paying homage to the artist, right?
Absolutely.
You've got a vision for the song, so there's a certain tempo, there's a certain sound that you want it to have, but
Right.
at the same time you want it to be recognizable to people.
Right. I didn't want to go too far left with it. I did trust Josh's judgment. I always do because he's just he has such a great musical ear and mind.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so when he handpicked that one, I was like, you know what? I get it. I hear it. I hear what you hear, and I totally get where you're going. But again, like I said, I didn't want to. I just wanted to do the song justice because that's Eddie Kendricks. He's an
Yeah.
iconic
Yeah.
soul man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And how long did that take you?
The studio
Was that
session, we knocked that out in basically a day,
yeah.
couple of hours. But was so funny about Josh and how he records me. Josh likes to let me warm up. Like I'll do like a run through.
Yeah.
That's how I get my voice into shape. I'll do a couple of practice runs, but Josh records the practice runs.
Hmm.
So and I think he does that because that's when I'm kind of comfortable and I'm just at ease. Because when you press that record button and I know I'm being recorded, now I'm trying to be perfect. I'm not really all that relaxed. I'm trying to pay attention to every note I'm hitting, whether I'm flat or if I'm sharp or whatever. But there's a point in the song towards the end where I got a little over rambunctious and I was a little too comfortable and I'm warming up and Josh pretty much kept all of it. And I was like, yo, I was just playing around. Like, you kept all that? He was like, dude, you was in the zone, so I just kept it. But I'm like, okay, so are we gonna edit some of this down? He was like, no. I'll clean up some things, but he was like, nah, because you was in the zone. And I was like, oh my God, Josh. But the people received it, so it's all love.
No, I think it was a good choice for you. Because
Yeah.
we also know,
Uh,
and I can say this from a disc jockey standpoint,
mm-hmm.
some songs ain't for some artists.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Some
yeah.
like you're like,
Yeah.
shouldn't have probably done that.
She probably left that one alone. And there's a bunch
Yeah,
of songs that I would like to do that I keep telling myself, Lamone, leave it alone, leave it alone. It ain't for you. It ain't for you.
but what makes a song for you? What is it?
Oh, good question. I mean, there's songs I love. I just love, and I hear myself doing them, in the shower, in the privacy of my own home. But I'm like, Lamone, do you really want to tackle this? So, I guess you got to figure out is the song in your range? Is it in your key? And if it
Mm,
isn't, you better put it in your key, and
yeah,
you better
yeah.
somehow put your stamp on it, to make it for you, and because people are gonna compare you to the original.
Right.
They're gonna compare you.
Right.
So
Any
yeah, I
virtual
don't.
shows coming up?
As of right now, no, but that changes at the drop of a dime. Like that can change at any given moment. I did have some talks with a couple of people about doing some virtual things. It kind of fell through because of the whole pandemic, situations. But as of right now, no. But you know, yeah, that could easily change.
Well, I got a minute. So, what is it that most people don't know about you that you'd like to share with the public? And what
Uh,
should we expect next from Lamone?
what they probably don't know about me is that I'm very introverted. I think what you would call me is an ambivert. I'm like a
I've never heard that term before.
I
I'm
think that's what they
learning.
yeah. I think it's an ambivert where I'm very introverted, but I do a lot of extroverted stuff. People see
Okay.
me out, they may see me perform or out in the gym or whatever. They think I'm, this outgoing type of guy, which I can be, but lo and behold, I just like to chill. I like to relax. I like to come home, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to my den and
Chill out.
just chill out, listen to music, write music, and just be at peace. So I think that's one thing people probably don't realize about me. They probably look at the pictures or whatever, look at the videos, like, yeah, he's a very outgoing guy. No, not all
Mm-hmm.
the time.
It's called performance, people, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's called performance. And what should we expect? What's
You.
coming? I know that Born a King is
Yeah.
relatively new,
It is.
but
Expect a
a,
follow up
okay.
single very soon. Expect another collaboration between myself and Najee. I'm just waiting him to get back to me with his horn parts and everything. So that'll be coming very soon. Expect more music. Expect most likely an EP. I'll probably drop
Ah,
one more. I'll probably drop one more single before I drop the full length EP because it seems like we're living in a time where all people want is singles right now. They're not really
yeah,
checking for full length projects.
yeah.
Once this music industry opens up, expect to see me live on stage somewhere because we got to get out of these houses and back on the
Yeah,
stage. So
and back on
yeah,
stage and full
we
houses.
got to feel that energy from the crowd.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Lamone, thank you so much for sharing your time this morning and energy.
Thank you as well, Michelle.
Born to be a king. What
Yes.
label is it? I know it's independent, but
Very independent. Right now, I'm with Righteous Music Media.
okay.
Shout out to Miles, my manager, and Jay Ross, who's been helping me with the promotion. But yeah, I'm pretty much very much independent right now, unsigned. So
But it's
yeah,
good music. It's
I
good
thank
music.
you. I try to put out music of quality because I have to compete with people like Eric Benet, the Maxwells, all those guys that people love to compare me to. So I'm like, all right, well, if I gotta compete with these brothers, I'm coming hard.
And that is understandable.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, Lamone
Thank you
Andrews,
as
so
well.
much for being here this morning. I hope to have you back because I'd like to talk
I'll
to you
be
about
back.
your songwriting process. So
Absolutely. We could talk
think
about that.
about that. All right.
Will do.
This has been The Collective on WSME Enlightenment Radio. See you soon.
Bye, y'all.